Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about the top 4 tips to avoid when studying for the CPC exam. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, yes, I am talking about the CPC exam today, the Certified Professional Coder exam, and that is a medical coding certification exam with AAPC, or the American Academy of Professional Coders. I want to say this part first, though. It's a little disclaimer first. I have been in the medical coding field for 16 years. I have been certified 3 times with the American Health Information Management Association. I currently hold 2 certifications. I started off with my CCA, and then once I got my CCSP, which is a Certified Coding Specialist Physician-based, my CCA was superseded. Then I got the Mastery Medical Coding Certification, which is the CCS, the Certified Coding Specialist. Now, with all of this said, I am not certified with AAPC. I probably will never be certified with AAPC, but my advice is still valid and it still applies because it's still all about medical coding, okay? It's still all about medical coding. Now, the thing that you will learn on my channel, if you've watched my channel and watched a few videos on my channel, is that you'll notice that my advice that I give is not conventional to everybody else's advice. My advice, when I tell you guys to do 20 hours per week and all these things to study and things like that, it's a little bit longer, takes a little bit more time, takes a little bit more endurance to do what I do and study the way that I tell you guys to study. But it's going to be beneficial to you because, to quote one of my favorite YouTubers from his channel, Think Like a Horse, Rick, one of his favorite sayings is, the slow way is the fast way. Now, what does that mean? The slow way is the fast way means if you take your time to learn, you will be faster and more proficient in the future than if you were to learn quickly and take all these shortcuts trying to learn fast, and then you're still going to have a bunch of questions. So when you think about this in terms of medical coding and medical billing and coding, it's going to lead to a very long, expensive, and frustrating road if you do it that way. If you are just cutting corners and trying to do all these things, and these top 4 things that I'm talking about today, these are the things I'm telling you to avoid because they don't help you. And before you disagree with me, because there's always going to be somebody that disagrees with me, I don't know why you watch a video where I talk about what not to do, because if you've already done it and it worked for you, why are you wasting your time watching this video? I'm talking to those people that don't know, that are trying to do their research and find out, okay? So that's just, I'm going to leave that there. We can agree to disagree. But again, this is my channel. And I'm going to give advice that is going to make people, if you follow it, it will help you to become a better coder, a stronger coder, a more competent coder. Because trust me, there's all these schools out there that are saying, oh yeah, you can learn medical coding in just 4 weeks, and you know, we can teach you in 4 months, and we could do all these things, and you could be on your way to this high-paying career. And then you get out there, you learned how to pass the test, because they taught you test-taking techniques, right? But when you get out in the real world, you don't know what to do because you were never taught appropriately how to code. That's where my channel comes in, because I saw that there was a need for this. I saw that there was a need for somebody to say, wait a second, no, this is how you got to do it, so that way you can learn. Now, is my way the flashy way? Is it the more glamorous way? Absolutely not. Is it harder to do? Yes. Does it take more time? Is it going to be a little bit more of a commitment to you? Yes, it is. But guess what happens? You learn to be disciplined in your work. You learn to be very conscious of what you're doing. And learning it this way is going to make you faster in the long run if you follow it. And I have the feedback to back that up. I'm just saying. So with that said, I'm going to say this. We can agree to disagree. But whether you agree or disagree, leave a message or don't leave a message, leave a thumbs up or thumbs down, it doesn't matter, because you know why? When you do something like that, YouTube sees that as engagement, and then they push my content out even more. So while you may not like this message, right? You may not like it, but if you comment something, it's going to make YouTube say, okay, this content is liked, so we're going to go ahead and push it out even more. So you go right ahead. I'm just saying. Now with that said, here's the first thing that you gotta know, the first tip that you gotta avoid when you're taking that CPC exam. I saw somebody on social media, I'm not gonna say which platform because I know I have some people who like to run and tell people what I say on this channel. But they said they're so confused about what notes to write in their book for the CPC. Does somebody know what notes to write in the book? You don't have to write in the book. These books are written by doctors and scholars. That's number one. So it has all the information that you already need in it. The only thing that you need to do as a coder, as a medical coding student, somebody preparing for this exam, is to practice with the book so that way you can learn how to use the book. All of the answers are already there. And guess what? Even though your exam, the CPC exam has 100 questions, it's 2 minutes, 40 seconds per question, right? You're not going to spend 2 minutes, 40 seconds on every single question, but that's the average, right? That's what you have, right? So when you do this, when you're in there, you're not going to have time to read these notes, okay? So you will have cluttered up your book for nothing. You will have wasted all of that time writing those notes in your book for nothing, when you could have been practicing looking up codes, practicing with scenarios, practicing getting those sheets of just diagnosis codes to look up or just procedure codes to look up, and working with the book that way, so that way you could be more proficient with the book. That way you can get familiar with what everything is in the book. Okay, instead of trying to say, oh, what, I'm so confused about what notes to write in there. You don't have to write anything. You don't have to write anything. Just practice with the book. Learn to use the book. And if you're taking my medical coding summer challenge, right, I have 3 things that I told people to practice on with their books. If you have the ICD-10 CM Expert for Physicians from Optum, you can be working at the beginning of every single chapter. They have scenarios, and you can cover up the answers because it has the answers and the rationale. You can cover those up. You can answer the questions, and you do that the entire summer, right? If we're already halfway through, but you still have time to catch up, but work through those problems, right? Because there's like 10 to 20 problems per chapter, and you look up all of those, you will have gone through the entire book, and you will have gone through every single chapter. So that says that, you're going to get really proficient with diagnosis coding. If you have your CPT book, I told you guys to go through every single chapter and just read the notes that's already in there. The CPT Professional Edition by the AMA, it does have coding tips throughout the book. And that was the other challenge, was to go through the entire CPT manual and read those. So that way you can get that familiarity with the book, all right? And then the other one was going through if you're taking ICD-10 PCS on your exam, was going through the 388 procedures in the Optum ICD-10 PCS manual in the back. In Appendix M, there are 388 procedures to look up. So if you are taking any one of these 3 summer challenges, and there's no place to check in for that, no place to sign up, it's just you going through and doing those things. So that way you can get all that practice in. Because by the end of the summer, you'll have, practiced a lot with those books. And so that's just meant to help you kind of learn more. But again, if you are taking the time to do that practice and get to know your books, you're not even going to have time to be messing around with writing notes. So there's nothing to be so confused about. When I see messages on social media or people send me messages and say, Blue, I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Why are you so confused? That's more work and for nothing. That's going to yield very little fruit. Because 1, you don't know what's going to be on that test. You don't know, okay? Number 2, you don't want your book all written and cluttered up in, because, again, the book has the answers. I've seen people where they write notes all up in the margins and everything, and you can't even see the book itself anymore, like the writing on the pages. You can't even see it because it's so written and cluttered up. And they say, oh, yes, that helped me. I don't see how. You can't even see the codes. So that's something that you can avoid, that's something that you don't have to do, is write those notes, because again, that's not going to help you. Now, if you're not taking your test, you're on the outside and you're coding and things like that, and you're working in a doctor's office, absolutely, you go ahead and write notes all you want to in your books, because you're not taking a test, all right? And maybe you're seeing a lot of the same types of things, and that's okay. But if you're taking the test, your books should stay clean, okay? Let them stay clean and let them work with them that way. Because in all 3 exams that I've taken, my books were always clean. Clean of writing, clean of tabs, clean of highlighting, okay? And it's not just because I'm with AHIMA. It is because I respect books. I love books. I'm a book lover, as you can see back here. I love books. So, and I know that every single bit of information that I need is going to be in this book. There is nothing that you can add to these books that's not already there in some way. All right? And so, and if you ask me, well, you talk about Optum, can I use the Optum books for the AAPC test? Yes. If you look at the AAPC website, it says that you have your choice of publisher when it comes to the ICD-10-CM book and the HCPCS book. You could pick whoever you want to, all right? Because again, you have your choice of publisher, but the only one that everybody has to have is that CPT Professional Edition by the AMA, the one you could see in the back right there. That's the one everybody has to have. But when it comes to ICD-10-CM, even though AAPC has their own version, you don't have to use those. They say you can use any publisher, so Optum is okay to use. And Optum has fantastic deals. If you go to optumcoding.com, you'll see a lot of those. This is not an ad for them, but you'll see a lot of really great deals that are coming up. And usually by August is when they really start to go on sale. I mean, like really good, really good sale. So because they're trying to get rid of the 2024s and get into the 2025s. So that's just something for you guys to know. You don't have to write notes, guys. You don't have to write notes in these books, okay? And now that leads me to tip number 2 to avoid. Now, there's people that love to do the circling. They get their CPT manual and then they circle the parent code and the child code. So what they mean by parent code and child code is that when you're looking at your CPT book, and sometimes you'll see like the code, and then you'll see an indentation, and then you'll see a second part of that code, right? That's the parent code and the child code. And what they do throughout the whole book is they go through and they circle all of those. And they think it's the greatest thing and it helps them. No, if you're having to do that because you can't recognize an indentation, you've got other things to worry about. Okay, you really have other things to worry about, because there's no way you should be missing the indentation. There's no way that you should be needing to have your book circled so much that so that you can see it. It doesn't matter. Again, if you are practicing and you're looking up those codes and you're getting that practice time in and you're doing the summer challenge, like I tell you guys to, you're going to get used to seeing the parent code and then the child code. It's not confusing. It's all right there. And there's a really good indentation that tells you that this is a child code. So again, the circling that I've heard takes up to 8 hours to complete, all those 8 hours that you did of circling could be just as easily spent practicing, looking up codes, looking at the book itself, getting familiar with the appendixes, because that's where a lot of really helpful information is at as well. And again, you're on a timed test. This is a timed test. You do not have time to be fooling around with, all these notes and looking at all this clutter and stuff. There's no need for it. That's something that you can avoid. That's something that's going to save you time if you're working with a clean book. Okay? So that's something that you guys got to know. All right? That, I'm going to leave that there. The other thing is the tabbing. The other thing that you can avoid is that tabbing. Now, tabbing, there's a lot of people that have different strong opinions about tabbing. Again, when you're practicing with the book, when you're using tabs, the tabs are going to get in your way and it's going to tear your pages. I've seen people with torn up books that they're very proud of because they feel like it makes them look like they're working really hard, studying and practicing and things like that. No, You're just tearing up your book for nothing. Again, that those tabs, all they're going to do is get in your way, because you have to sit here and still look at the tabs to see where I got to go, instead of, if you've been practicing, and then you could say, okay, I know about midway. Okay, here we go. We're close. And sometimes you can get so good, which is like what I do. Sometimes I will get the book and open right to where I got to. And I don't even look at the side. I don't even look at the colors. I don't look at anything. I just literally open the book. I've done that several times in front of my providers. And they're like, how did you do that? And I'm like, when you work with these codes as much as I do, you get pretty good at feeling through the book. Okay. And it is possible to get that way. And with your studies, if you're studying 20 hours per week while you're preparing for your test, maybe you have a really good study plan throughout, and you're getting ready to take your test and you're wondering how many hours. 20 hours per week. And even if you're working a full-time job, it doesn't matter. Because even with a full-time job, you can still squirrel in 20 hours per week. 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at lunchtime, 30 minutes on the drive home, you could be listening to something. Whether it's anatomy, medical terminology, HIPAA videos, you could be listening to anything, okay? And then you have 1 hour when you get home, and then you take a break, and then you take another hour, and that's 3.5 hours you've done in one day. You do this 5 days in a row, that's 17.5 hours, and then you have 2.5 hours on a Saturday or Sunday, and then you're done for the week. You will have completed everything that you need to do and study for the week. And it is entirely possible to do. And it is entirely possible to get yourself that discipline to be able to do that, so that you can be successful when you take your test. Okay? So that's the thing that I wanted to tell you guys about that, is that when you are taking these tests, that it's very important that you get that practice time in, because without that practice time, that's what's really messing people up. Is when they try to do these shortcuts, and they try to, get around these things. And no, it's not about that. You have to make sure that when you go in for this test, that you're ready to show your competence, and you're ready to take this test. And so that way you can get out in the real world, and you can be confident when they're giving you a test. Because it is possible for anybody, if you put your mind to it, and if you practice, and you don't get into your head about, oh, this and that. No, don't worry about all that. Finding a job and getting along with your coworkers, that will come on later. All right? You get that practice in, so that way you can be proficient when you get out there. And for the last tip to avoid, okay? Now, there is process of elimination. And a lot of people ask me, well, Blue, can you do process of elimination videos so you can show it? No, absolutely not. That process of elimination will only take you so far. If you are depending on it to get you through the entire exam, you are not ready to take that test. And even if you do by chance pass, it doesn't mean that, again, when you're going out looking for a job, they're going to give you another test. And if you can't pass those tests, they're not calling you back. And as it is, a lot of brand new coders already suffer because they have terrible resumes, or they get somebody who is not a medical coder to write their resume, and it still doesn't get them any calls back. And so there's a lot of this rigmarole going on. Oh, I can't find a job, and it's too hard, and they don't like me because I have a CPCA. They don't like me because I have a CCA. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that you either don't have a very good resume, or you use that process of elimination your entire test, and now when they're testing you in the real world, you can't even pass a test, because the real world is not multiple choice. The real world is not multiple choice. There's not a bunch of answers that you can pick from when you're in the real world. You have to be able to figure this stuff out. And how do you do that? By working with the workbooks that I've recommended. They're in the description box below. The ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS coding handbook with the answers. Even though you are taking the CPC exam, you can skip all of the ICD-10-PCS questions. Trust me, you'll be able to know which ones are ICD-10-PCS questions, all right? You can skip those, and you can just go with the diagnosis coding questions. And there's a lot of scenarios in the back of that book that are just the diagnosis codes. So you can cover up the answers, you can work through that problem, you can practice with your workbooks, and that's going to help you get proficient with your diagnosis coding. And again, if you're taking the summer challenge and you're working through the ICD-10 book, right, or at the beginning of every chapter, right, those questions, you're covering them up and you're looking up those codes and you're seeing where your deficiencies are, that's what's going to get you that good practice. And then, of course, to learn CPT, the CPT side, there's the CPC study guide. That, hands down, I will always recommend, even to the people that are taking AHIMA exams, I still recommend that CPC study guide, because of the simple fact that it is broken down very straightforward, simply, easily, and it's got very simple, straightforward answers as well. Some of those answers I don't agree with, but it's okay. It's all right. For the most part, it really does give an in-depth explanation. I like it. It's very simple and easy to understand so that anybody can understand. Because trust me, there's terrible books out there for preparing people for the exams. There are terrible books out there. But those two I really like, okay? But let my message sink in, and let this be the theme of it, is to practice, practice, practice. All that time you have wasted doing all these note writings and, oh my gosh, I'm so confused, and what I gotta write here, what I gotta do there, and what I gotta circle here and highlight there, and tab here, tab there, all of that, and you could have been practicing. And it is much more better when you are spending 8 hours practicing than if you're spending 8 hours circling in a book, 8 hours tabbing a book. And so many people are willing to do that because that's easier, right? It's easier to do that. It is so much easier to tab, write, highlight, and do all these things and feel like you're studying. Feel like, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to pass this test because I have these tabs here. I know exactly where to go. Rather than if you just took the time instead to keep those books clean and practiced with them. So that way you can get really proficient. That's all I'm saying. And if you say, oh, Blue, no, I did it and it helps me. Not really. Because you don't really know, do you? You don't really know. And how could you really know if that's what you've been taught the whole way, right? And again, I'm going to say things that are going to be opposite of what people do because I'm not going to take this fast. This is why you don't see me on TikTok. This is why you don't see me doing those little quick reels and things like that. I don't do those things because I believe you can't learn medical coding in 60 seconds or less, or do a video for 15 seconds. Why? Because people come back with even more questions and they're even more confused. So I will always take my time and explain things. I will always encourage you guys to take the long way, which is practicing, putting in those hours, putting in the time. And I will say this, when I'm telling you guys to put in the hours, put in the time, I'm not talking about, oh, I'm doing 4 hours, I'm doing 8 hours, and I did 8 hours, and I have a headache. Then you earn that headache. No one told you to go 8 hours straight. No one told you to do that. As adults, we learn differently than from when we were children, right? When we were children, everything was about school. You didn't have to worry about bills, mortgages, car payments, insurance. You didn't have to worry about any of those things. Now you do. And then you want to compound it with, oh, I've got a family as well. I've got a spouse as well. I've got a boyfriend. I've got a girlfriend as well. So you've got to think about all these things and all these other people that are depending on you. Or maybe you have people in your ear saying, oh, no, you can't do it. Oh, really? You think so? This is the thing about the human spirit, is that you could do whatever it is that you want to do. You have the power to propel yourself forward. You have the power to be able to do all of these things. You just have to put in the time. You have to be disciplined. You have to say no to TikTok. You have to say no to all of these things that you're on the internet for, right? You have to say no to all of that. And you have to start devoting time to learning. And when you do that, it's going to be, trust me, the nerd in me really comes out when I start talking about coding, and it makes me happy. I start giggling, and because I get heart happy when I think about it. It makes me happy. I love the puzzle. I love the puzzle, and I love when I can explain something to somebody and I see that light bulb go on. I love that so much. When I see that for my providers, for other coders, you know, when I see that, I love it. It is the best reaction I can ever get from people, is when I'm teaching them and they get it. And it's something as complex as coding, because it's not just, you know, looking up codes. It's understanding the disease process. It's understanding pharma. It's understanding the procedures. It's understanding all of these things. It's knowing what doctors know while never having gone to medical school. And again, I don't say that to scare people. I say it to prepare people, right? No one told me that. I figured it out. I figured it out well into my career. You know, I became a medical coder in 2008, and by 2014 was when I got it, when I understood that this wasn't just a job, it was a career. It was a career, and all the things that I had to know. So I had to start thinking outside of the box. I started watching videos on YouTube about surgeries, which you can do as a student. And not only that, I didn't even think about at the time, because there wasn't all of this stuff back then, okay? But now you guys, y'all are spoiled, okay? When it comes to like anatomy and medical terminology videos, they're all there on YouTube. HIPAA videos are on YouTube. Everything and anything that you ever wanted to know about health information is on YouTube. So those 30 minutes that you're driving into work, or you're getting the kids ready for school, whatever, you could be listening. You could be listening to that. You could be listening to the guidelines. I've explained how to listen to the guidelines. I'm not explaining it anymore because people want to be ungrateful and tell me about how the voice is so monotone it's going to put them to sleep. This is so that it can make it easier for you. And not only that, you can change the voice. You can change the speed of the voice as well. That's what's so great about technology, right? Is that you can change these things. But no, I have to hear complaints that, oh, I can't pay attention and it bothers me. Okay, then I won't explain it anymore then. But I will just tell y'all that's something that you can do. So, but with that said, guys, those are the 4 things that you can avoid. Those are time wasters. It wastes your time when you could actually be taking that time and investing it into those practices, into studying, into, you know, doing all these things where you can get that practice time in. Because practice time in is well served. That is going to be something that helps you a lot more. And if you get stuck, if you can't figure something out, find yourself a mentor, find yourself a good tutor, somebody that can help you. I do tutoring, but I'm not available until September. September is when my calendar opens again, because right now I am completely booked. I'm not taking any new bookings. The scheduling is not going to start until August for September dates. So I'm just letting you guys know that. But in the meantime, you could find a mentor who can help you for free. You can find a tutor who you may have to pay for. But that's something that's an investment in you, and that's a heck of a lot better than trying to get into these quick prep programs that don't really teach you anything, right? I'm just saying. So maybe some of them do, but some of them may not. I'm just saying, I don't know. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Best of luck to you out there. You can do it. Take your time and pay attention and make sure that you're getting that practice time in. That's all I'm going to say. So if this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all again. Bye.